Welcome to the official recordings of a student-made podcast, Consider It. Features a series of 4 episodes, each one covering various topics under the umbrella of the male gaze versus the female gaze, and its connections to explicit content produced in anime. Trigger warning, the following episode might contain sensitive content. Please proceed with caution.
Welcome to episode 2 of our podcast series Consider It, a student-initiated podcast done by Shikha, Ren, Alana and Jeremy, where we'll be covering the ethical and legal implications in the modern mediascape and its connections to anime and other explicit Japanese media and how it panders to the male gaze. Over the course of the episodes, we hope to give you a better understanding of the matter and help rectify the misinterpretation that follows it.
Alright, so in the previous episode, we'd spoken about the male gaze versus the female gaze, and we kind of ended it with how we're going to connect it to anime and Japanese media. Now, in this episode, I really want us to discuss about I can't use the term out here in YouTube, but I'm going to use it as CP. I hope all of you know what that means.
Yes.
CP, right? We're all cool with that because YouTube's not cool with that. Okay, so now there's something very blurry about the Japanese CP law, and I will read it out as per the law that is written, okay? On June 18th, 2014, the partially revised Act on Punishment and Acts Relating to Child Prostitution and CP and the Protection of Children, Act number 79 of 2014, hereinafter referred to as the revised law, was drafted. This revised law was officially published on June 25th, 2014 and came into force on July 15th of the same year. The rule basically states that you can possess media, or you can possess media that has CP, but you cannot distribute it. Okay, you cannot distribute it on the internet, specifically on the internet. Now the issue here is they do not really define, or they refuse to define what CP actually is over here. They don't have a clear definition or an idea of what CP is, and then they put out this law which is blurry and expect people to follow it. On top of that, in if I'm not wrong, I think in 2004, Japan and Russia are the only G8 countries and the part of the UN which is legal to own pornographic images of children, provided they do not intend to sell them or post them on the internet.
The reason why it's so difficult for Japan to kind of strengthen the laws against CP is because of the backlash they get from the people in Japan. So basically, when the UN started urging them in 2015 to make it illegal to possess CP even in anime or animated form, they immediately said that no, they cannot do it because it kind of obstructs the freedom of their people. And then they did try to strengthen the laws in the beginning of 2021, and they got a lot of backlash. Some of the trending tweets in Japan were controlling expression, non-real CP, and then people were accusing the government, and they were they're gravely betraying the party's core values, because the Japanese government was before what they campaigned about, or what they portrayed as their image, was to give full freedom to their people. The people were you're trampling on the freedom of expression, and it was offensive to content creators. The US ambassador to Tokyo, Thomas Schiffer, said that unlike some people in adult P, children are not willing or paid participants. The majority of images and videos depict violent and brutal sexual assault on children, and most of them are younger than 12 years old. And we're talking about child rape.
However, this also needs to be looked further into about the loophole in this law that the Japanese government is trying to promote. So, in the same week, Sheffer discussed the measures with the Justice Minister Kunio Hatayama, and Hatayama says, this is a reprehensible market. It is true that the lack of a penalty for individual possession is serving as a loophole. As with narcotics, approval of possession could lead to distribution over the internet. So, as you examine the law, we have to really examine what the fundamental issue with the law is. And this is that the Japanese law states that it is illegal to possess any sort of CP in relation to real life children.
So actual human beings,
Yes.
living and breathing.
However, this reinstates the loophole that it allows for fictional children to be allowed in CP. So this essentially says that as long as the the CP that you are possessing is of cartoon children, that fundamentally it's all right, but it becomes an issue when these children are real life children, because they see it as, if it's not real, then they're not actually promoting or encouraging the urges of pedophiles, because this is a fictional child, and it's used as a loophole to betray the whole ethics behind it, as in the end CP is still CP. So despite this, campaigners have welcomed the change, even with the retention of loopholes for manga and anime. So Hiromasa Nakai, a spokesman for the Japan Committee of UNICEF, says that it sends a big message to the domestic public, and it fills a big hole in Japan's zero tolerance policy against CP. It allows for the Japanese police to effectively cooperate with their counterparts in the international community. So authorities in Tokyo said that they would ban the sales of manga depicting these incestuous relationships or relationships that are CP, which is actually a very popular subgenre of Japanese P. So in addition, as the run-up to the 2020 Olympics began to grow popular, Japanese convenience stores were also told to make the display of these magazines and manga less conspicuous. However, as these laws were being passed and as the government began to even give any importance to the concept of CP in manga and anime, several artists and publishers have long since resisted the prohibitions on their material. They said it was an attack on the freedom of their expression. They said that they were essentially being prohibited to make the kind of content that they wanted to make freely.
I guess as an artist, they would have felt quote unquote threatened that they're not able to express their views.
No, I'm pretty sure they said that they were restricted.
Yes.
And I don't think they're seeing the bigger and more realer picture here, that you are infringing upon pedophilia, you're encouraging pedophilia, you're encouraging assault, you're encouraging these sensitive topics like rape on children.
Yeah, so as with the passing of the law, Japan still has not clearly defined what they see as CP. So this is where the loophole comes back in, where if it's real, it's illegal, but what is the difference when it's a cartoon character or if it's a real child? Because at the end of the day, it would still encourage and promote these desires that exist in society.
That's normalizing it.
Hideki Takanuma of the Japan Magazine Publishers Association told Asahi Shimbun, "We welcome that manga and anime will not be targeted for the possession of CP. But banning the possession, while the definition of CP is still ambiguous in media, is still highly dangerous." So in an attempt to safeguard the artistic freedoms, the bill states that attention should be paid in applying the law in a manner not infringe upon the rights of the people without due cause in relation to academic studies, cultural and artistic activities, and reports.
Okay, so all of you've all heard of the anime Boku no Pico, right? I'm pretty sure you haven't.
Okay, I've seen it around.
I've seen it on TikTok,
but not like the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think last year or last year, it's been coming up back on TikTok because of how bad it is. The whole reason Boku no Pico has its fame is not because it's a good anime. It's because of the fact that there's a lot of CP going on. Like in the first 2 episodes, I won't go into detail, but in the first 2 episodes, it's basically about this 22-year-old man.
Oh, no.
You know, with a 10-year-old boy who he forces to dress as a girl. So first of all, that tackles a lot of topics, not just CP. We won't go into the rest, but you can tell how bad it is. Now, first of all, I don't know how the law allowed this to happen in the first place, because it is basically promoting CP because they're sexualizing minors, you know? And another example of CP in anime is a very famous anime called No Game No Life. I actually did not know this was a thing until recently. Basically, the main girl in No Game No Life is Shiro, who is 11 years old. And in the first episode alone, we get 2 panty shots of her. And you can see that she is shown naked several times throughout the series, but they do say it's censored in a way or two, but like
it doesn't take away the fact that it's
I mean, like at the end of the day, it's still this minor who's
like
being
putting a bandage
sexualized
on
and
this-
objectified.
Exactly. It's like you're literally male gazing, you know? You're male gazing.
I think you're forced to male gaze as well. If you put out media like this, you'll be forced to male gaze.
Yeah, like-
because you can't really go beyond
First
this.
of all, who even thinks about the idea of drawing a panty shot for an 11-year-old girl? I can't. It's unthinkable.
That's so messed up.
You know? And there's another anime called Junjo Romantica. It's basically a story about a grown man who sexually harasses and rapes his best friend's younger brother. And the age gap between them is 10 years apart. And the only reason this anime is not in the pedophilia category is because the younger boy is, I think, fresh 18 or he is 18.
Oh, how convenient.
Very
Oh,
convenient.
so
Yeah, it's
convenient.
It just dims every other label.
Because,
I know.
obviously when you turn legal age, you're mature
No,
enough
the
for all
minute,
these.
the day you turn 18 is when anything is
There's so
allowed. Your
much
brain
going
is mature enough to handle all of this, which is not the
It
case.
is such a sensitive age.
You know? And besides that, this anime is not just about this main couple, it's about two other couples who go through like equally bad stuff. And it consists of a lot of sexual assault, rape, harassment, and promotes a toxic agenda enforcing that the quote-unquote weaker person among the two should reciprocate the feelings on quote-unquote the stronger person.
So
which-
power dynamic.
Yeah.
I hate those kinds of
Like, it's not just seen in this anime. There's a lot of animes that talk about this issue, which I don't think is something that should be shown to children.
I don't think it should be publicized.
Yeah, that-
Accessible.
That
Exactly.
connects us back to a theory that we've been talking about in class recently that I've dived into further later on. And this is the normative ethical theory, and also known as the deontological ethical theory. Deontological is a concept that looks into the moral obligations that an individual has and their duty to uphold those ethics as a part of society. So it's basically your ethical and moral obligations as a person. So in connection to the topic currently, it basically means that consuming, distributing and promoting CP, whether it's real children, animated children, fictional children, whatever, is still ethically and fundamentally wrong.
Now we know that a lot. The reason why Japan does this is it's a political agenda. Like this whole concept between pleasing the people. Japan loves to please the people. Now, as a governing body, like Ren mentioned, that the deontological theory states how it is an obligation, it is a duty. If you know something is wrong, you don't do it. You don't promote it.
I mean,
you
it's
don't even
just
think
simple.
about legalizing it.
Yeah, do not be a pedophile, do not murder someone.
Period. Like, you do not give leeway, you do not give exceptions for things that are morally wrong. And okay, it's wrong and it is harmful to society. Children are essentially like the future of this world. If the government itself is so blurry about these laws, and if they do not have a moral compass as to what is right and what is wrong to children, how do you expect humanity to grow? How do you, and this Japan is one place where it's seen as a bad thing, and I'm focusing on it because it's legal. When a law is morally wrong, even though it is clearly out there that pedophilia, harassment, rape in any form, 2D, 3D, fictional, fantasy, real, it is wrong. How can you justify that just because it doesn't exist in our earth right now at present time, it's acceptable, it is viewable, it is legal?
Yeah, I also feel like because of the Japanese law, a lot of these artists, like the manga artists, think it's okay. And like, I feel like the mindset in Japan is just wrong in general. Like, there are so many cases. Like recently, there's this case of this manga artist of this very famous manga called Osiata Gyaruku-chan. His name is Suzuki Kenya, who got arrested for illegally bringing in CP to Japan from Germany. And like, he was found having at least 12 magazines in his house of just CP. Now, the whole reason, like, he wasn't arrested because of possessing these items. I think he was arrested more for importing illegal goods from an outside country to Japan. That was the main reason of his arrest. But like, this wasn't the first case. There's been so many cases before his. There's this manga artist called Mitsutoshi Shimabukuro, who is the creator of a very famous, I think, shonen manga called Toriko, who got arrested on charges of sleeping with multiple underage girls. And
you know what I can't understand is that it's these artists who possess and read and consume this sort of tainted media
Exactly.
that draw or create content with children in it.
Exactly.
Like, you viewed CP, you've done completely immoral things, and then you put out this manga or you put out this anime and you think it's absolutely fine.
exactly. And the thing is, all these manga artists, yeah, sure, they get caught. There's like bad media light on them, but they don't really face most of the consequences. Like most of these mangas, their mangas are still out there. It's not like discontinued. It's not like taken down. It's still out there. So that means they're still getting in money, right? They're not suffering consequences. And yeah.